Oh, good morning, Miss Terri.
Hello, hello. Hello, how are you, my dear?
Well, we're back in,
We are back.
in the name of transparency. So I posted an episode, like a 30-minute episode last week, just to try and keep on schedule because your
Mhm.
girl had a little meltdown when we were supposed to record last week.
Ah,
I mentioned that in that episode. I was like, life be lifing, and it do happen.
be life
But
and
welcome back.
welcome back too. This is
And
great.
thank you
Happy to
so
be here.
much for now we can talk about it because the energy is not so intense. But it was I'm so grateful to know you and to be able to rely on you in moments like this. But I just felt really shaken, really off of my energy, and
Mm.
that happens sometimes.
Well, it happens to all of us sometimes. Now, again, we're in these human bodies, right? So we're going to have situations that are very human
Yes.
and that can kind of catch us off guard. Usually is when they do that, right? They catch us off guard. And, we bounce back from that. And you've bounced back very well.
Well, what's so funny is it very much reminded me back when we were training. I remember sharing with you, but privately, like I kind of cleaned up my act on the weekends because I didn't want to deal with walking into class with you on Monday and feeling like she knows exactly what happened. She knows da da da. And there is still some of that true as well because we still record on Mondays. I still see you on Mondays. But it was very funny
Hmm.
whenever I literally logged on, you said, "What's wrong?" So,
I remember that. That's right. I did. I was like, what?
yeah.
What is this? What's
So
wrong?
there's still some truth to there's no escaping. And that's also so comforting. It.
Well, I'm glad that it is comforting. I was like, am I
Oh God,
intruding?
no.
That was the first thing I said. I was like, oh boy,
No, and
okay.
I'm so grateful. But in those okay, so we were kind of part of my energy, and I would say the majority of us, especially those that are into spirituality, but anyone who's really into deep thinking. I could look at that event and try to plot out because it felt so random on a timeline and on a big reasoning. Why would I do that?
Mhm.
Why did that event happen? And then I'm brought back to the thing that we both have a knowingness around, which is that's not my domain. We're not very good at knowing why things happened, and we're not really good at knowing how to make things happen.
Well, sometimes those are tricky things to acquire. So I'm right there with you. I don't always make things happen either.
Well, and it's, you just off camera, we were just talking about how you said that your husband Brian cooked for you on Mother's Day, but that there were certain aspects of the meal that you both had said, "Oh, we'd love asparagus, we'd love mashed potatoes," but didn't really work out with that meal.
No,
Fast
we
forward,
had risotto.
which you guys
I love
and
risotto.
what y'all make is amazing.
Well, thank you. He makes it. I just eat
Right.
it. It's good stuff.
And then what happened today at lunch?
Wild. I'm going to throw in gosh, the moose. It was so bizarre. We spent off and on all day yesterday, ridiculously so, finding moose. We went to the stores. I didn't have a recipe. I could have Googled it, but I was at three different stores and I could not find it on my phone because I couldn't get, the 5G isn't here kind of thing. And it was really frustrating me. And so finally we decided on something else, which we never even made. But we were like, gosh, what is it with this moose? Why can't we get this simple moose? I just want to have some moose. And I thought I haven't had it in, years probably. Ironically, as you were saying, really, our dessert today at this luncheon that we attended was
That's
moose
so crazy. Was it good?
out of nowhere. It was
Good.
delicious. And it was what was so funny about it is they didn't serve us to our table. They had it as a to-go thing as you were leaving, take your
Oh,
dessert with you,
that's
which was
awesome.
perfect.
Yeah.
So we got to take it home. So yes, we had moose. It was very odd, but it was wonderful. We were the synchronicities.
Well, yes, and this is something that you and I both probably see a ton with clients, and I'm dealing with this a lot lately.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
going to go through what you just said. There are so many people, the more scared they are, the more frustrated they are, the less in control they feel in their day-to-day existence. They could look at
Mm-hmm.
the experience you had of trying to find moose and not being able to get it, and that it had a connotation around motherhood because it was for your Mother's Day dinner.
Mm-hmm.
How many people do we know who would sit there and say, this must be a sign. How could I not get the dessert I want on Mother's Day? Is this a sign that I'm not a good mother? What
Yeah.
is the meaning? Like,
Yeah. What is the
what does
meaning
this
behind such
entail?
things?
And why was I
Yeah.
hitting a wall so bad? And maybe
Right.
what could just be true is the universe said, you're about to have some.
Right. Chill out. Chillax.
And to make things even weirder, or was the initial, if time is kind of non sequitur in spirituality, or was the desire and the entertained thought of having moose brought to you by the fact that you were about to have really good moose at this lunch?
Yeah, so this wonderful restaurant, very, well-established restaurant. You're right. When you look at things like this, there's so much wonder in energy and so much wonder and thought and just in everything and everyday life. Let me put it that way. And exactly, I mean, we both got the biggest charge out of that because we made peace with the fact that, Mama wasn't getting any moose and we were all going to live with that.
Right.
And that was fine. And I never took it another step further than that last night, but how ironic.
Yeah.
Yes. The universe was like, be patient, child. It's going to come to you.
Well, and that's sort of the thing about if it's important to us as intellectual humans to deduce out of that experience which came first, the chicken or the egg,
Yes.
then you could see how that is a endless tail chase.
Yes,
Because how do we
absolutely.
prove it?
Yes.
Did you want the moose
There's
because
really-
you had it in the future and you clued into that a little bit early? Or
Mhm.
did the universe decide, man, you really struggled for that and you really wanted it? We're going to make sure that's on your timeline.
I know it's fascinating, and you can take this simple example, and you can place it in so many conversations that we have with clients, as you
Mhm.
mentioned. It's like when we talk to people about, are you rushing to get the new job to get the wrong job?
Mm.
Do you need to step back a little bit so the right job is more available when you're ready to get the right job? And we do see that. We see that quite often.
Mhm.
The hurry, got to have it now. That really sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and get in a jam
Mhm.
because of it with real life situations.
Whenever we think about goals,
Mhm.
what do you think is the number one thing that we do when we set them up that build in a little bit of failure?
Typically we set unrealistic goals.
Mm.
We either have an unrealistic timeline
Mhm.
for the goals, or the goals are too far advanced for where we are on our timeline,
Mhm.
or we go the other direction and we ask for less, and therefore we're assured of less.
Dang.
So then we find dissatisfaction with less.
Oh my gosh. There's so many that could spark out so many great conversations. I don't even know where to
Well,
start.
absolutely.
But with that comes there's one thing that I really firmly believe in, and I keep getting this pressed into me through messaging lately. Again, everything kind of changed around March and I still don't understand why. But one of the big things is this directive that seems impenetrable, which is that everything is frequency first and then it falls down
Mhm.
into physical form.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. I do see that. And again, sometimes the frequency comes from our desires.
Right.
Sometimes the frequency has nothing to do with us. It's just an overall frequency that is affecting a mass of people, and that takes us in a different directive or to a different directive.
Ooh, God.
I know, it's
That just makes it so,
fascinating.
yeah. Because it never is you're never just playing in a sandbox of your own energetic creation. You've got
No,
probably a
that's right.
cacophony of things and you've got to sort of sort
Yes.
out, man, that's insane. I mean, I know
Well,
that,
and
but it's also weird to think about that way because we
exactly.
have this, bless myself and all of us, we have this idea that maybe we have a little bit more control. And we both have control and we both have an infinite amount of exterior energetic influence.
Exactly. And again, and I'm not saying that the universe doles out prizes. What's fair for it's fair for you today, but not fair for you tomorrow. You got this yesterday, you'll get this tomorrow. It's not like the universe is going to that degree. But you can see it in so many ways. How many times have you had a client that's come to you that applies for a job and really wants the job, and then doesn't get the job, doesn't get a call back, and is absolutely devastated? Well, I get it, and the feedback I can give is, this job is good for you. This particular line of work for you is good. So we continue to pursue
Mm-hmm.
this. We don't just go one and done and go, to our beds and cry, because there's probably another 50 people that are sitting in their homes or wherever they may be, wishing and expecting the same job as that is the person.
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of tug of war over a desire,
Yes.
a singular desire. And so there has to be, again, I don't like the term winners and losers, but there's going to be someone who gets it and those that do not,
Yes.
just because of balance. It's just because of balance.
Well, so I'm going to have to, my thoughts are kind of going crazy. Okay. So I'm going to just say how frequently there's a couple of, like, so if we were to label the influences that occur over someone's timeline that they will never be able to control or to have great knowingness about, yet it will still have a play. One of them we would argue would be karmic contracts.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which we don't get to see that list. We don't get to see that timeline. So that's
Nope.
a big player in our lives that we have zero
It is.
oversight, sight of, or control of.
That's right. And it's so ironic to me. There's so many people out there that don't even believe in karma.
Well,
They really don't. And I think interesting take. And it's not that they have another term for it, which, equates to what we're referring to. It's that they just, they don't see it as karma, which blows my mind. And I've never really heard a good enough explanation other than we're not here to pay back lessons. We're not here, to be punished. And I'm like, oh, really? I don't think it's really punishment. I think it's the evolution. I feel it's
and it's
ascension.
balance.
It's balance. And I hear that probably not all the time, but often enough that it caught my attention. And so I thought, well, let's get a new buzzword. Maybe we need a new buzzword so we can capture the whole,
Well, I just heard
group.
God's plan. What do you want to call? I mean, is it if God or if a higher intelligence understands your soul, understands what it needs, then it will bring both the balance. It'll bring the good and the bad. It'll bring the fortune and the
Right. It's a balance.
lesson. So how is that not,
Exactly.
to me, karma attends to those same needs without judgment?
I would say that too.
To me, that looks a lot like God's plan.
Well, exactly. And there will be those, as we well know, that are listening to it now, feeling that they're melting. We've used the G word. But bottom line is, God is to you. We're not, giving you anything that you have to, adhere to. We're simply saying, what is God to you? Is it your highest consciousness? Your highest
Exactly.
self? Is it Buddha? Who is it? But something is in the works. Something has to be a little bit more in attendance.
Well, certainly in shamanic practices, in Hindu, well, in Christianity as well, quite frankly, they say the seat of the throne, right, is within us.
Yes.
So the argumentation is, if it's God's plan, and if we are the material mirror of that, then there then becomes the argument of that it is our plan. And that is why it still meshes and works within the idea of the structure of our soul makes certain plans. We don't always have to honor them, but we certainly have to come upon them.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm a firm believer, and I will say this to anyone who's listening. We don't always make the best choices, right? We don't make the best, even the best plan of actions. We, on a conscious level, as intuitives, there are things I've done that I look back and go, seriously, what was I thinking?
Yeah, same.
And that's a good human state of mind, right? Seeing that's really what we are as well. So we're human, just like everybody in the vessel that we're carrying. So we also see that there's things that we really, 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 wish for and wish for and wish for and wish for, and affirmations. We do all sorts of things, and we get it, and then the next statement is, "Wow, did I really want that?"
Mm-hmm.
And I do hear that, and I've been guilty of that myself. And so it's funny. What I was thinking of dates back quite a ways. There's a local mall in Dallas Fort Worth that used to have, they called it Parade of Houses, which were just, again, there were doll houses, there were playhouses. there were all sorts of those, pretty things that you would put in your backyard. And so my son was very young. Taylor was very young. And I wanted the jailhouse. A big, huge, they probably, spent 15 to 18,000 to build it. It was nice. It was a jail. It's a play jailhouse. Okay. And I just remember that whole month just going, please let me win it. Please let me win it. Please let me. I mean, nonstop, probably spent 150 just on tickets for it. Well, I'll be damned. I won
Oh my
it.
goodness.
Right. And it was amazing for about 3 months. And then I have this 500-pound wooden jailhouse that it slowly starts rotting in the backyard.
Wow.
Right. And becomes a treasure trove of, yellow jackets.
No.
And wasp. Okay. So again, we have to be mindful. Sometimes we should kind of take a look, be the observer as well as the wisher,
Yes.
right? To see, are these things really, really going to benefit me? Is this the direction I need to be before I affirm it in all my thoughts?
Man. Well, and that's sort of the thing about, so if karma affects our life, as far as the day-to-day things we endure, one of the things that gets overlaid on top of those things is our massive amount of free will. You
Yes.
create that dollhouse probably had nothing to do with the karmic plan. It was a desire. That's both beautiful,
It's a desire.
but from the perspective of we get to do that. We get to say, I want that, and then try to go after it energetically.
Yes. And so when we see that not all things play out in a formal way or the correct way or whatever you want to call it, your way, sometimes we have to take a step back and go, maybe that was for the best.
Gosh. Well, and again, that's another thing that we'll never know. We don't
Right.
get to know that.
Don't get to know that.
So then that adds another thing to the list of things. If we don't ever get to know it, we should not concern ourselves with it. It means that we can't achieve that information. So
that's right.
And the other thing that I think isn't really spoken about, but I think has a significant amount of effect on our experience of life, as far as something impacting us that we don't anticipate, that then we wonder later about why. And again, I mean, tell me what you think about this, but I've always felt that we are all like little Wi-Fi hotspots. And if you're in the general vicinity of somebody in deep need, you might receive that signal that which changes your trajectory, and you become a weapon or a tool of someone else's synchronicity. And it has nothing to do with us. It wasn't on our plan. It wasn't in our life, but we happened to be at the right place at the right time. So the universe said, you're available. And it's
you became the new actor in the play.
And it's no more or less important. It doesn't mean that you got to go meditate over it. Things can be that random, and you can make a huge impact on somebody. And if you go back to your life and try to intellectualize what that could mean, what that, it's like, well, it's another version of chasing your tail, because it means no more than you are available to help.
Right. Exactly. And I am a firm believer of just what you've said, and you've said it very eloquently. That's exactly what it is in many ways, is we're just a participant. We're not always getting a lesson of our own. We could just be, again, we're just in the playbook, right? We're one of the actors. Maybe we're one of the extras.
Man.
And things happen because we are also collective. As you were saying earlier, we're collective energy. So we're really supposed to help navigate with others, through the plans. And if they need an actor to help them, well, here we are. We're the participant.
Ooh, I just had a weird feeling. Okay, so tell me if you think this is an accurate thought or statement, because this goes into generosity and it goes into the topic of service. So financial generosity or service with your time and space, whatever. But I just felt like, okay, so if then by your own actions of generosity with no purpose, of service with no intention of return, you set yourself at the vibration highest to be able to receive those random invites to other people's play. Yes. But that also means, does that mean that the more you sign up for other people's play, the more others will sign up for yours.
I love that idea.
'Cause I've
That's a profound
felt that.
statement.
It's like,
But it makes a lot of sense. Again, if everything truly is a vibration, if we are vibrating at a certain frequency, others will vibrate accordingly. And it does create inertia. I would speculate that that makes a lot of sense.
the way
Then you're signing up and per se the playbook, and others are doing the same for you.
oh god, I just got this. Okay. This is what I think could be true, and I've never thought about this before. We always hear about in every metaphysics ever. It's like there's either connection or separation. Love makes you see
Right.
connection, fear makes you see
Yep.
separation, anger, all the things.
Separation.
But if you're moving more towards connection, even though it's no intention, you're just moving towards connection of the collective by being generous, by being of service, you
Right.
are already moving towards an area where other people who are also willing to play random you're not, it's not tit for tat. You're just by
No.
proxy more in alignment to be aided on accident by these other players. When you take yourself off into separation, no one else goes to follow you. Those that want to be of service, be generous, be part of synchronicity's hand, they can't go with you. You have to go into the collective connected network, God. And that's
I know,
why
isn't it profound?
that just gives me,
It's exciting. It's exciting when you
but
look at
it's
it from
so
that
tragic
perspective.
too, because think about, we do go, I mean, like, what is fear, pain? It naturally separates us. And sometimes that's
Yes.
like the time we need, I guess, that, and thank God outreach does exist despite that, like, but
Right.
it is hard
Yes.
because it's like, the most time that we usually need generosity, need the synchronicity to work in our favor, or at least maybe, no, I should think about that. Maybe the time that we feel we want it the most or could benefit the
Right.
most.
To benefit the most. Let's give some examples of
Okay.
that. Let me just, for all of you, just so you know, that is a message board with, that's what that says. And I'm diligently trying to block it from you, but I'm really tired of trying to block it from you. I'm going to put some maps on there and put pins of where my husband and I have been to. And so it's just for fun, but I keep doing this and keep doing this to try to cover it. So that's what it is. If you're wondering what it is, you know.
Perfect.
Okay, now you won't see it anymore
Right.
because you know what it is. The human nature
course.
of all of us. But let's put it into practical examples. And that's a hard thing to do. We know what we're saying, but it is hard to put it into a sense of practicality. But if let's look, okay, let's go, for instance, because the job right now, the job market, people are looking for work, they're afraid. They're afraid they're going to lose their job. There's all this fear. So the collective part right now is fear-based, right? Energetically, everyone is afraid for their future as far as their employment status. So then you throw in the mix of, okay, I'm fearful, and now my energy is put into fear, but now there's a subset of this collective who's trying to look for work, gainful work, looking for work. And so what's difficult is the collective, if you could put it in the words of fear, would be like, nothing's going to work out, you're not going to keep the job, you can't be, the work is scary, the economy's bad. So the collective is throwing out some daggers right now. So it's going to make it even more difficult, because a lot of the players that would be in your playbook, there's more of them that are on the wrong side of the thoughts than on the right side.
The fear,
right
the
now.
separation,
The
anxiety.
fear and the separation is very strong emotions. Fear and anger kind of have, love is obviously the strongest, but most of us aren't sitting out there doing kumbaya while while you're trying to pay
No,
rent.
right. Exactly.
It's more different intention. So it's curious to me, if we look at that, I would feel that it as an offering of how do I put it? If I'm counseling someone on any level, giving them feedback, I would have to say you've got to avoid the pitter patter of all this anxiety at work. You've got to stay away from it. Focus on a more narrow vision of, I'm going to get a job. This job is going to be great. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm putting it out to the universe. Hey, here's my 911 call. I'm ready for this job. I'm going to put forth the effort. I know there's a lot of stagnant energy. There's a lot of static around me, because everyone is saying no job, can't have job, can't be job. Subconscious is going haywire. But putting forth that effort to stay in the lane of, this is what I need, this is what I'm going to get, this is what I'm going to obtain. And this is why I need it
Mm-hmm.
to stay focused. So that then you're drawing more of the players that are supposed to be on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
It
make
does.
sense?
Because it doesn't allow in. Yeah.
Because I hear it from a lot of different subgroups right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all kind of commiserating together about, oh, we're going to lose our jobs. Oh, we're not going to find another one. Oh, we're not going to get unemployment. Oh, we're not going to get early retirement. Oh, we're not going to get. And I'm saying, oh gosh, you've just written your next
Oh
contract.
God, isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Yes.
I keep telling clients, I'm like, there is no such thing as doubt. You've already chosen a different thing that you believe more, but there is no
Right.
doubt. And that belief is so powerful because it is
Mhm.
just as much manifesting as anything else you think or do.
Yes. And that's why so many people are just in such a miserable spot because everything they really want to come through into isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And all the things they were afraid of are coming to fruition.
Yes.
Because again, what you throw attention to, you create.
Yes. Yes. Where attention goes, energy flows. We are
Bingo.
really missing
Yes,
the mark on that a lot.
we
We
are,
think that we're
especially right
preventing
now.
it. We think that by worrying and thinking about it, we are controlling how we can respond when it happens. And you're like, well, you're promising yourself that it'll happen and then you can respond how you just thought about it. Like that
Exactly.
then you've sealed it. Good job. Like that's what we do in fear. That's what but we've really had our manifestation hijacked.
Yes,
Fear is a prevalent thing we're fed. We understand that. You can go
that's
sit and
exactly right.
bemoan with the tinfoil hat and talk about how the media makes us afraid, the music makes us afraid. It's all there. We get it. I don't think you're wrong. And I think it's been there since the beginning of time, will be there till the end because control is fed by that. So
Right.
then we have a responsibility and it's not easy.
That's right.
But,
We do have a responsibility.
I have found a new thing through that class where it is almost this sort of relationship with information that is latent, and part of me, the human me, the impatient Sterling, doesn't really understand that because I'll hear back what I've already said and it will feel like an aha, and the ego in me gets a little irritated. I don't know why. It's a part of me that wants credit, it's a part of me that needs credit, it's a part of me whatever that I'm working through. But it's becoming very evident to me, even in that space. When you say you do something without a connection to the outcome, it's in every level because if I choose to get worried about when what I say will hit, I'm going to find myself a little frustrated, is what I've learned.
You
And
bet.
so
Absolutely.
then,
Absolutely. You got to manage your expectations with it, is what you're saying.
because it's not going to be, you could tell somebody 8 times a truth, but the fact that it plays in the background of their existence much later is the job. Not that they take it in the moment you say it, not that it resonate with their soul right now,
Exactly.
but
It can get very just complicated, very twisted, very tongue tied with all this type of data. But we see it time and time again. I've got an example that blows my mind, and I can use it in the sense that I'm not putting this person down. I'm simply seeing this is kind of where people get stuck.
mm,
So I have this delightful client. I've known for probably 7 or 8 years now. And recently, over the last 2 years, there's been a lot more effort on, okay, what's the year going to bring? Where am I at? What am I going to do? And when someone wants a year review from me, I will simply, I'll sit with them and I'll go January, boom, what's the word I hear? And then we take it from there. February, boom, what's the word I hear? We take it from there. So if it's action, if it's saving money, whatever the terms that I get, we go in those directions. So we had recently done that, and we had done other readings that weren't year based. They were just based on the moment, that the jobs, the movings, on all the big life experiences. And it was so intriguing to me because shortly after that, I got a text message, and the text message literally was, And I see how people get stuck. And I've been stuck in ways too. I'm not
No,
superior to
same.
anyone.
We don't get to skip our
It's
own
so
stuff.
wild. Yeah, I mean, heck, we got our own stuff. But the person said, you hit on all the different possibilities for the month to the calendar year. And thank you. But what's really bugging me is, how do I get over my divorce from 15 years ago? Now, the snarky side of me, because I do have one,
Same.
to know me is to love me.
Yes, 100%.
Was like, what the hell does that even mean right now?
Yeah.
I mean, which was really what I was thinking. But when I heard that, I was taken back, because what it really did was cancel out any opportunity for change,
Wow.
for growth, for synchronicity, because there was some diseased thought that was still working in the background. It's kind of like the record with the proverbial and non-stopping, or whatever you want to call it, skip.
Yes.
The record kept skipping. And in 15 years, she'd been dealing with that, and thought that was the only thing that mattered. It didn't matter if January was prosperity, because 15 years ago, I was left in a marriage. It didn't matter that February was creativity, because 15 years ago, she felt vulnerable in a marriage. So again, and I'm not trying to be nasty about things, but we have to do we have to do an internal check too, and see what our crap is, what our baggage is sometimes, because that to me felt very unrealistic. What it really said to me, and I said it and it didn't go over very well, was that there's no point in even getting excited about the future if we don't intend to live there. If we don't intend to live in the present, and we don't intend to live in the future, why should we get excited about anything the guides say? Because we haven't left the past.
1,000%. And what I'm about to say is really harsh, but we see it, so I'm going to call it. How often is the snuggling up to the past and a past pain the excuse we use because we are afraid of future outcomes, or we are not willing to take the actions, or we don't believe in ourselves, or all the other reasons which make us stagnate, because
Yes.
you aren't actually that sad about the divorce. You've had 15 years to metabolize it. It's a crutch now. It prevents you from having to do anything.
Exactly. When you get information, whether it's from us or from anywhere, when you get information, and if you choose to take it to heart, there's a responsibility there. It's just like I told a client yesterday, and again, we're not bashing anybody, but I told her, I said, if you never come out of your home, you're very unlikely to ever get married again. Now, you still, I mean, in some ways, and people believe this, and I understand where they're coming from. They say God's supposed to bring this person to me, and all I have to do is wait. Well, in my world, when I hear the term wait, that means give up everything else, stop what you're doing, kind of like waiting for a train or a bus, right? You can't be, reading a book because you'll miss the train. You can't be, eating lunch at the restaurant down the street because you'll miss the train. You see? And so if you are waiting on that level for something to occur, you've become a very stagnant energy. So I said, if you choose to step out of your home and you choose to go to the restaurants by yourself, if you choose to go to some art events by yourself, if you choose to be with other people, I see that you will find a mate. But I also don't think you want to get married because you haven't worked through the marriage you left 5 years ago.
You just say that because you think that's what you're supposed to say.
It's a form of self-punishment too. It's like, I haven't dealt with the fact that I'm upset. And yes, I know I just said that the 15-year-old one should have already been one and done. But my point is, oftentimes people don't really drive forward with energy or inertia for the things that they're meant to have that are positive. She was going to stay, not do much of anything, stay home with shades drawn pretty much, and expect a husband to come to her life in the next year. Well, unless he's your termite man, or you have him come over and fix your washer.
I just thought that of
That's
the only
funny.
options then become delivery individuals that come to your house.
Yes, right. And if that's what you want, then make sure you're wearing something sexy when the mo guy shows
Exactly.
up.
And also
Be
be creeped out because when you open the door, you're wearing something like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't, then you're going to be telling a whole, I felt uncomfortable. What is your choice? Like,
right. It's it's
yeah,
inertia. So if I see abundance in someone's energy for, say, what month? May. So we're in May. And if I say I see abundance, one, I'm not making it
no.
up. I see it from somewhere. The guys are talking to me. I'm seeing it. They probably have it on a card. Sometimes they just show it in the air. I mean, it depends a million ways in which we all get information. But if I see abundance, I would think at least my temporary expectations are that you'll take that word and find where it applies for you.
Yes,
Don't fight me on it. Don't say, well, I can't possibly see that. Okay, then you're not going to create it.
exactly.
Even though it sounds good, if you're going to be adversarial about it, you'll never create these good things because you're fighting them.
I felt an uptick in adversarial energy to messages. Have you felt that? What do you think that is?
People want to be discouraged
Why is that, you think?
because they feel it's a very it feels very society driven. It's politically driven. Everyone is in a funk. They're waiting for everything to fall apart.
Mm,
So if they're almost afraid to be the odd man out by being optimistic.
okay.
I mean, and I see that a lot. And I'm not saying everything that's going on in our world, and I'm not going to get political with anyone. I'm not saying I agree with everything going on in my world. And I know it affects us. I'm not
Hmm.
stupid. I go to the grocery store just like everybody else, right? But I'm not going to linger in it where it becomes my daily bread either.
Hmm.
You see, I can't do that. Because if I do that, then I'm just falling into the other side of what you were saying about synchronicities. I don't want to be on that receiving end. I don't want to be in the poor me, the woe is me, the fear based, angry based, frustrated based
Mm-mm.
energy. And I don't really feel anyone wants
No,
to. We fall in it because we think that it's the team. It's kind of like the
that's
mob,
so fair.
right?
Yeah. You just,
It's like a mob mentality. I don't like it. You don't like it. Well, let's get other people who don't like it, right?
to feel more safe and secure with how we already feel, to feed it back to us.
Yes, it's validation. If you want validation, bring something positive in, and then I'm right there behind you. Let's get you as many things to validate positive energy around you because that's really what you deserve. Not bringing in the fear, not bringing in the and I know there's some people right now even saying, but you can't make change unless you get angry.
That's not, yeah.
That's not
No.
true. Yeah.
Are you familiar? I know. How do I describe this? Okay, so everyone always is like, raise your vibe, your vibration, all that, and no one really, maybe they know what they mean, maybe they don't. But if you lay out rock or anything solid,
Mhm.
what's
Mhm.
really quite strange and quite terrifying is when you add the right vibration, the movement back and forth at the right frequency, you can turn stone into where it starts to behave, it starts to warp, it starts to move.
Yes.
A window, like when you play
Yes.
music too loud, your window, if you slow it down, will actually ripple, which when you touch it
Yes.
slow, it's hard. So what they were kind of showing is the lower your vibration when you want to move through something solid, i.e. life, and with the intention to have your way, you want that job, you want so-and-so's opinion of you to
Yep.
change, whatever. You can't do it as easily from a low vibration because by raising the movement of your energy, it functions on, again, it's metaphysics first into physics. So it's like
Right.
you decide, you make just a choice. It's as clear as I'm going to stop. I'm going to snap myself on the hand with a rubber band every time I have a negative thought. I'm going to dedicate to educating and disciplining my mind so that I can have the highest
Yes.
chance of getting what I want out of the universe. Because it's
Yes.
not going to work with an undisciplined mind because the universe already has so many players at part, and our media tells us to think a certain way. The music, it's like we have to train our brain to ignore the negative because it is everywhere. But guess what also is
It is.
everywhere? Really beautiful, positive things. So
Mhm.
then we just have to start to understand, like, if I can just say for one day, I will, every time I think some negative thought about my spouse, I will just walk away from that thought. I already know I
Yes.
think about it too much, but this is my commitment to this next week.
Absolutely. And see, I love
You
that.
might be able to
I'm
help
right there with
yourself
you.
stay in a marriage.
You know, it's funny that you've said that, because I will tell you something with my husband, even as recent as an hour before our podcast today. I sat with him for a few minutes because he's going to take a nap for work, and you know, I'm busy and I'm getting my stuff done. And I said, "Do I treat you well?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Do I treat you well?" And he said, "Well, yeah, most of the time you do." I said, "Well, I want you to know my intentions are always to treat you well. I'm human, so I'm not always able to make that come forward to manifest that. But I'm also telling you that it is important to me to try.
Yes.
So if I have said anything, and I said this before
Wow.
our podcast, I said, if I've said anything that has hurt you, I take full responsibility. But I will tell you right now, I did not do it with
Yes.
malice. But if there's something that's bothering you, you can tell me so that I can show you that I'm serious and sincere about the intention behind whatever it was. He's like, "Where'd this come from?" And, you know, and part of it may be because, you know, again, I'm a little compromised because I've been playing the ouchie game for months now. But I thought, it's really how I felt. It was more of, we sometimes get ahead of ourselves because we go along in our own worlds and doing our own things. And we forget that there's a lot of people that we're influencing, a lot of people that we are with that are taking our word, taking our energy, and hoping to find value in it. And so it was very interesting, the perfect timing, you know, again, the synchronicity of life. Because I didn't know what we were going to talk about today. And so it didn't let me off the hook. Now, if there was something I'd done, I would have taken responsibility. I'm not saying cleared my slate, nothing for last month,
Right.
good. But making a statement that my intentions are to be helpful, to be loving, to be responsible, to be responsive. And if I did not meet and measure up to those things, then I give apologies. And if I have examples, I'll be able to do more. Not that I'm trying to, you know, bait a fight or anything. And that wasn't my intention.
Never.
But it goes hand in hand with what, you know, we have. You know, we have every day of our lives, we have an opportunity to really make a difference in other people's lives, to influence them, to help them.
Is what you just did in that conversation not the exact same thing as picking up a guitar and making sure that it's in tune?
I love it.
Because left to its own devices, no instrument remains in tune because you're playing it.
Exactly. That's
but
right.
We never think to tune
that
ourselves.
That is priceless. Yes, that's priceless. I love that. Yes.
Because you were saying my intent is
I
this.
love that.
If my actions have fallen out of tune, this is me stating to you and to the universe, the tune I wish to have and hold is that I'm always good to you.
That's right. Exactly.
Wow.
And if I have missed that mark, then please do reassure me that you will tell me so that I can make amends. I can choose to fix or to disagree.
What's really beautiful.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, the thought I just had too was, as someone who's played new instruments, new thought forms, they have to be tuned all the time. And then the older they get, the less tuning they need. So it's like, if you have an intention, a new note, I'm not going to be negative. You're going to start the day with that and be completely out of tune by midday, probably, because it's a new instrument you're trying to learn to play.
Exactly.
But then eventually you will get good at it if you keep tuning.
If you keep tuning.
Dang. Ugh. That's
I love
crazy.
That. That's a really cool way of looking at it. It
I
really
hadn't
is.
thought of that.
I like
it's
that
not
a
me,
lot.
obviously. It never is, right?
Well, I'll tell you, I love our teams.
Oh my God. Well, that's, I guess, before I let you go, that would be my last question is, what would your advice be as far as utilizing in a conscious way? How would you suggest the everyday individual how would you tell to utilize their guides to help them stay in tune? Because everyone always asks me, well, how do I use my guides? And I think it's different for everyone. But in this way, if you say, I want a new note to play, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to be less negative, I'm going to do whatever it could be. How do we get the guides involved?
First, recognizing their existence.
Well, yes, right.
And I tell people that all the time, you know, because people want to get to know their guides, they want to work their guides, but then the next thing out of their mouth is they have no idea anything about them. And I say to them, well, if you have no idea anything about them, that means you have no conversation with them. Well, no, I don't know who they are. And I always say, it doesn't matter who you think they are or who you know they are. What matters is, just like anyone else, if you had someone come into your room, you'd say good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Yeah.
You would say something. So I tell everybody every morning when you wake up, say hello, hi, good morning to my team. If it's going to make anyone feel uncomfortable to say that out loud, then I'm going to first say that they maybe need to correct that. Because if it sounds too strange for their spouse or their significant other or someone else in the house that may think that there's a problem there, then that's something they can say, listen, this is my spiritual family and I talk to them, period. Like it or leave it. I'm sorry, just that. But say hello, say good morning. Acknowledge what you don't even see. Acknowledge what you don't even hear for a while. Good night. Good night. Good night, I Brutus. Good night, team. Thank you. Let's do this again tomorrow. Let's have a great day. So then as you start saying that, you can't help but believe that they're, okay? You can't, after a while, you can't help it because you have instilled the ideology, you've put it in motion. You know that you're not alone, that the spirit world is there for your benefit, okay? And so get to know your team. Maybe you don't know how. Just sit, close your eyes, lean back and say, I know that you're here. I appreciate you. I need to get more feedback. Help me to help you with me. I want you to know me. I want you to understand me and show me how to do that. Okay. And I tell people, and this comes up too. I'm like, well, if you were getting to know God, what would you do?
Yep.
Now you got a little bit of an advantage because you can go read a Bible or you can go to church, you can go do that sort of work. Well, if you're getting to know your team, then go read some metaphysical books on guide work. Go read books on energy work. Go
watch episode
talk to
number
those
2
people
of
that
the
are
Wolf and the Bear
metaphysical.
podcast, where we talk all about guides.
Exactly. That's the most important one of all, right? The Wolf and the Bear.
I always
Here we
direct
go.
people because I'm like, I'm not going to go into this, but we have a really good episode. And it goes into a lot of detail. It's like 3 hours long.
And we do, and we love what we do because we love people. Okay? We're not in it to use anyone. We're not in it to sway people in a direction that's not healthy. If you want to get to know your team, you want to get to know your spirit guides, then you have to put forth the effort. You can't learn a foreign language unless you study the vocabulary. Learn what it is, learn what it feels like. I could sit here all day and say, oh my God, I just love the Japanese language. I just don't know it. I just don't know it. I just don't know it. Well, because you haven't tried to learn it. Now, I know that sounds a little forceful, but if you want to learn about your guides, then you need to start now. You just need to start today. Say hello to nothing. You can look at, hello, beautiful team. Someday they'll say hello right back.
And we've discussed this in different, they're reminding me, we've discussed the nature of their perspective, right? Of like, hey,
Yes.
if you were trying to get an abused kitten, not that guides are like this, but I'm getting the idea of you're asking it to you're coaxing it out. Like, come hang out with me, come play with me. You wouldn't then to a small kitten say, never mind, I don't want to deal with you. You can't ask them to come meet you halfway while in the back of your mind you're judging other people who believe that they exist. And I feel that sometimes. I feel people want to believe it, but also have they want to have one foot in that's probably all BS and one foot in maybe it could be. And imagine trying to get somebody come out, put clothes on, put makeup on, come out and meet you. And that's the way that you're asking. That's the energy you're going to bring. I'd be a little irritated. I'd be less likely to put on my best outfit.
Well, exactly. And again, take a side, and then you don't really need to take any side, but take a side, because I hear that too. Well, with certain people, I tell them I believe it, but with certain people, I don't believe it. Okay, so what do you believe? You're 50% lukewarm. So where are you going with any of this? You're hot and cold. Are you this or you're that? So you've got to decide that it's worth your investment, okay, of time to get to know the team. It's not as easy as we sound as it is. It takes time. You have to really go out there and make an effort. There are times that I hear I Brutus all the time. But if I have someone who's working with me temporarily, I may hear something and go, what was that?
Right.
Or I may feel another energy and go, that feels different. Well, I can pursue that or I can let it go.
Exactly.
And I had this really just adorable young girl who wanted to learn a lot about spirits. And so I said, okay. And I was talking to her and she was a little distracted, and it also is kind of like, you always know the distraction level when they cross their
Yeah.
arms. They're like, I'm not sure I'm going to believe anything you say. And it was really funny because she said, well, I don't know if they're there. I don't know. I really want to learn about this. And I'm not saying you're not right, or I believe you, but just on and back and forth. It was a
Yeah.
tennis match. And so I said, okay, then let's play a different role here. Say your bestie is in your living room and you're chilling, right? You're in the living room, you're chilling. You got the music playing on in the background, and it's just, just chilling. And your bestie starts talking to you and talking to you. And your bestie's sitting right there on the sofa with you and just talking and just chilling with you and asking you questions. You're not answering. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Your bestie's going, well, I think I know that
Oh,
answer. I
God,
think the
right?
answer to that, I think I have it. And you're not getting it. You're not hearing it. You're not listening to it. Now, I know that your bestie in physical form is a lot easier to see, obviously, than the spirit world. And I get that. But this is just so you see where I'm coming from. And so after a while, that bestie is going to be like, well, hell, what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, you ask me for answers, but you don't hear me. You get the direction that you're looking for and you don't thank me. You say you believe I'm here, but you don't or talk to me. So it's not that the guides are sitting there with their arms crossed going, well, fine, don't talk to me. I won't talk to you either. It's not
No.
that. But they recognize they can't intrude into your free
And
will.
they are doing things that they can on their own already. The only reason this is
Yes.
a thing is because you're asking
Yes.
them to come make themselves presentable in a
Yes.
intellectualized form when they don't often do that unless you ask them to. They're in energy.
That's right.
They're a frequency first.
Yes.
So they're already working on your behalf as much as they can without impeding your free will, without ever taking on a masculine or feminine personality, without taking on a form that you can see when you close your eyes. We are asking them to present themselves in a more human way. They don't have to
Yes.
do that. That's not even their natural state. So let's honor
It's
them when
not.
we try to ask them, show me some evidence you hear. They're probably like, well, this is kind of impeding what I was already going to work on for you. But if you want to have a more ask answer relationship, I can come put on an outfit for you. I can pick male or female. I can choose a voice to use to be heard, but only so long as it makes sense.
Exactly. And then the best part is after you do start hearing them a little bit, then I get the phone call the next morning. There's something in my
That's
house.
right. Yes. Yeah.
I'm like, I hope so.
And it always was there.
Otherwise, you're completely void of
But now you've
energy.
given it permission to.
Right.
Man, I love how that feels from a responsibility to what is already there for us. Because partly there's the message of like, they're always with us. They're here regardless of if we acknowledge them. But I do
Yeah.
think this just bridged the gap for me as far as when people say, well, then why can't I see them? It's like, well, that is that's a privilege. To see them, to hear them is a privilege that you work towards with them. To get their aid,
Yes.
that's unconditional. But we get stuck
Right.
wanting the way we want to see them. We want to hear them. We want to know they're there.
Right.
That doesn't just come
Exactly.
because you want it all the time. Requires a little bit.
And there's some exactly, precisely. And there's exercises,
Yes.
there's exercises people could do. I'll tell people if you really want to get to know your guide, put a chair across from you. Ask them to come join you. Usually when we see a pulled up chair, we assume something's going to be in it, right? So try that. If it doesn't work, well, then you have a wonderful opportunity to put your higher self in the chair. I know a lot of people talk about their inner child. They talk about that energy. Well, take it from that, of which is just energy, and see it in a chair. Move it to the chair. Have a conversation with your younger self.
Man.
Have a conversation with your higher consciousness. and then practice that. Practice that. What does it feel like? Now put your guide back in the chair. What does
Thank
that
you.
feel like?
Yes.
It helps. It really does.
Because when you start it and you start the process of it's the 14-year-old version of me, no one ever sits there and wonder if what the response isn't all in their head. They already assume that it's some insight from themselves. Like, oh, wow, that's such a perfect.
It's just it's a way also to deal with issues.
Yes.
And I haven't had an opportunity to talk to that client since then. I don't know if she's upset with me or not. You can't save every experience. No. You just can't. And that's just the way it is. But the next lesson would be more of not so much an intuitive lesson as it would be, okay, well, you're in a situation that you can't get any closure from him. You don't even talk to him. This person with the relationship, the divorce. So put a chair across from you and put his energy in it. Put the energy that you know of in that chair. Oh my
gosh.
And talk. Just talk. Get used to trusting energy work.
Yes.
And just say, listen, hey, I'm upset with you. Let's talk this through. Help me to find me from you.
Yes.
And see what comes out of it. Meditate through it. And these are the ways that we have an understanding. We have a little bit of authority over these thoughts. We can't always bring back the people, that we've had issues in the past with from the spirit world. We can't always bring them from state to state.
Nope.
But in that instance, and she was my example today, there's work that still can be done. And probably should have been done at least 14 years back. Do you see?
Yes. But now it's better than never.
Now is better than ever. Acknowledge it. Work with it. Don't be your own victim.
Because the universe is going to do its own thing too. Why not? Don't also add yourself as an enemy.
Exactly. And we're not trying to get, we really, at least this is good. I want to make sure I preface this first. If I tell you, if I'm doing a year review and I tell you that there's abundance coming in a month, say we'll use an example of June. I'm not expecting you to write abundance on your mirror and, and sing a song about abundance and do a dance about abundance and tell all your besties about abundance, but at least agree that it's possible. Because at the end of the day, you're the master of your energy. And if you don't believe it to come true, trust me, I can't wave a magic wand. No. I can only tell you that that's the month that's best for you.
Exactly.
You can decide not to open that gift. And then you will later come back and say, well, I didn't see any abundance. And I'll have to ask you,
what did you
do to create any?
Exactly.
And if you didn't do anything to create anything, then who are you working? What side are you working on?
Oh, God.
That's
exactly true. It's like, maybe just do something and that will be only by doing something, anything, can that become the canvas that which synchronicity paints on, that karma paints on.
Yes.
Because if you do nothing in your house, you also are not answering your karmic responsibilities either. So they'll just get tacked on to the next lifetime. There's no escaping it necessarily. There's just, you don't always have to show up for it. It'll just show up next time.
It'll show up next time. I have an amazing client. I love her to pieces. She's a Gemini as well, May birthday. And she's been around she calls it around the sun a few times. She's amazing. I just love her to pieces. But what she's done is in her later years, she's an elderly person, a little older than me, thank God, because I feel elderly half the time, but I'm like, she's a little older. And I love her to pieces. But what she's doing is she's going through a list of things throughout her life that didn't help her, that didn't go well, that didn't feel validated. She's gone through names on a list of those she feels she's hurt, those that have hurt her. And she's working through each step of it's kind of like her own therapy, but it's her karmic therapy.
Yes. Wow. She's doing a life review, but she's conscious.
It's a life. Yes. Conscious life review. She's doing part of her life review in the physical form of now, which is amazing. And I have seen her change dramatically. She is happier. She is more open. She has more vitality. She's an amazing, amazing soul because she's learned that even though she has had those in her life that she had difficulty with, then on some level she may or may not have participated, right? So she's seeing and sending love to each of those individuals, not tethering herself to them, but sending validation that they both may have had an issue
Yes.
with each other
Wow.
and allowing that tether to be free.
Something to
And
think
so
about.
she has started life. It's really cool to watch.
That's really beautiful.
I'm blessed to be able to help her with that. I'm blessed. I mean, it just gives me goosebumps because I've watched her go from feeling very, not angry, but very dismayed by all the people in her life that should have stayed but didn't. Family members, friends. And so it was so healing to watch the process with her.
That's beautiful.
Watch her grow.
Talk about a
It is
spirit thing,
beautiful.
right?
Oh, I loved it. And it's right there. What a gift to be able to witness someone's growth. Really.
And then to see it validated that it can be done, quite frankly.
And the validation, yes, that it can be done. And you can start anytime. Today's always the best, right?
But it looks like we've done it. And
oh my gosh, we've done it.
I was literally thinking, I was like, what? Thank God for the fact that we do have guides. Thank goodness for the fact that we get to be used by synchronicity for the betterment of our collective.
Yes.
Thank goodness that we are a little bit protected and that this stagnant thing, this resistance to power, self-power, we've got to release some of that. And this is our vote towards that with this episode.
Right.
For ourselves and for others. Because me, I just got out of a very stuck energy. Like none of us are acting like we know exactly how to do it. I promise. But we're just trying to make our vote.
Yes. We're figuring it out just as well as you are. The most important part is don't grow stagnant in your efforts to grow. You've got to remain a playing partner in the growth of you.
Well, what did we say 2 episodes ago? Participation. We must participate.
You must participate. I love it. And also for all of you listeners out there, don't forget, we have many things that's going on. Sophia Sterling's teaching. She's in Bedford doing some amazing things. I have my office in Richardson. I will be there until July.
Perfect.
And then I'll have another office somewhere in Richardson. I'm laying the mental groundwork right now. And looking around, I'm trying to find things, but it's going to come to fruition. But we are always available if you need us.
Yes.
I know that the information's listed. You can find us if you need to talk. You need to comment. We do accept comments, and if it's snarky, we'll just delete it. Just kidding. No, we also learn from our mistakes.
We do.
But no, if you have a comment, I'm gonna. You know what? I've got a challenge. Anybody that'll put a comment on here before the next podcast will win a free question.
Ooh, I love that. Well, there we have it.
Yeah.
Comment also, or you can send it through the email. We have that listed below on our contact us. But do let us know, and that way we can start to be more of a hands-on service in some ways. That's our goal. That's really what our goal is. And I promise, as the months go by, I won't be so fidgety in my chair when I'm all reconnected. You're not. I don't notice at all. Oh, that means I do it all the time. And I promise I'll even put makeup on. Goodness. No, we got to just be us. We are who we are. That's true. We are who we are, what we are. I love you so much. Thank you. I love you so much. We're going to have a wonderful, wonderful day continuing from this moment forward. Yes, we will. And also just a good week. But we'll see you next week. Happy beginning of the week. Yes. Awesome. I love you. We'll be back. And thank you again so much. I love that we do this. I love that we do this too. So y'all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of day and week. And come see us. You know how to reach us. Take care. Bye. Oh my God.